Hi, this is a tutorial video on the easy way out. It's a method of accompanying yourself on pop piano that improves the sound of the chord progression in your playing by using good voice leading. So if you're playing this, if you're watching this video, then you've already played through triadic progression using chords in root position. So I'm moving this shape around with my hand. Kind of like my right hand is stuck in a mold is usually how I explain it. And I'm just playing kind of the same hand shape on all these chords here. Sounds fine, nothing wrong with that. But we're trying to elevate the sound of your playing, and so what we're going for is something that sounds a little bit smoother like this. So you might have noticed the difference, you might not have, but a lot of people are able to hear that it just, the best way to describe it is it just sounds a little bit smoother. And the way that we get there is by identifying the what I call the fundamental identity of each triad. So when you have a chord of any kind, the order of the notes is not what matters. It's the substance of what notes are actually being played. So you know by now that a C major chord, for example, is C, E, and G. So the fundamental identity of C major is C, E, and G. Doesn't matter if you play them in this order or this order or this order or this order. These are all versions of C major. And so of course there's a lot of ridiculous ways that you can do that. The possibilities are not endless, but there's quite a few of them. Different ways, as long as the only notes that are sounding are C, E, and G, doesn't matter what order they're in or how many notes are doubled or anything like that, it's still a C major chord. Like I said, that gets really crazy and atmospheric and is definitely applicable if you're looking to be some kind of like composer or something like that. But as far as being just a piano player, we can basically think of it in three different ways to play each chord. So play C, E, G, we call this root position. You could play E, G, and C, we call that first inversion. Or we could play G, C, E, we call that second inversion. So for right now, these are basically the three ways. Each chord you can only play three different ways. So the way the easy way out works is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. What we do is we move to the closest form of every other chord within the chord progression. The chord progression that I'm working with today is a very common one, 1, 5, 6, 4, or in the key of C major, it's going to be C major, G major, A minor, and then F. So let's just go through the whole thing. So if we go through this, C, E, and G. So then first what we need to do is think about what is the fundamental identity of G, what makes a G major chord. You can even play it with your left hand to kind of cheat a little bit and say, okay, there's G, B, and D. So the first thing we look for is common tones. Bingo, we've got a G in here, so we're going to keep that G. Then we need a B and a D, so my C can go down to B, my E can go down to D. So then I'm going down to this shape of G, playing from bottom to top, B, D, and G. So going from C, I go down to B, D, and G. So let me do the same thing for A minor. And once again, you do the same thing with your left hand. Say, okay, A minor. Well, there are no common tones. And really, there's not a super great way to get there because A minor is only one step above G. So we can just do that. We can take the G is going to move up to the A because that's the closest thing. D will move up to E. B will move up to C. So we're just going to take that whole shape and just move it up. That's just the easiest way to do it because of how close those chords are together. So that's it. So far we've got C, E, G, B, D, G, and C, E, A. So then now we need to go to F. And as I said with the other ones, you just kind of cheat a little bit and look and say, okay, well, F major needs F, A, and C. Okay, so we don't have an F, we do have an A already, and we do have a C already. So this one's actually going to be pretty easy. All we have to do is take this E, move it up to F. And then now we've got the full chord progression. C, E, G, B, D, G, C, E, A, and C, F, A. And that's your C, G major, A minor, F major. Even though it looks very different than what you've been learning, which is this big moving thing, this is the same chord progression. And in my opinion, it sounds a little bit better, a little bit smoother and everything like that. So where we can go once we get used to that, taking it from root position, is then you start the whole chord progression from a different voicing. This is something you can go through on your own. It'll be good mental exercise for this kind of thing. But if you start on this, naturally, everything's going to move just a little bit differently. You're still going to have the same common tones and everything and the same basic motion, but it's going to have a different sound to it. So it might be a little bit more satisfying. This sounds pretty cool. second inversion. You notice all these have kind of a different sound. And maybe spark different melodic ideas and things like that. So that's the easy way out. Can be applied to literally any chord progression that you do. Can be applied if you're using seventh chords too. So if you're stumbling across this video and you've been learning like jazz chord progressions, it's the same basic idea to do that with those types of chord progressions as well. So happy practicing.